Good evening on Live Saga TV. Yeah, welcome to Live Saga TV this evening, 19th of November 2025, and I hope you're fine wherever you are. I appreciate your presence on my channel every time coming to check back on my videos, and I want to go to one live stream directed towards what is happening in MALAVA constituency and Kasipul. Alright, so currently we are seeing what is happening in the country. The by-elections has actually been turned into a battle for some few people who actually are looking towards 2025. I don't know. So the by-elections have become a kind of projection for the different parties. We are seeing the United Opposition, ODM, and UDA. So it becomes a very challenging situation, especially for citizens in those places. The other day, of course, we saw what happened in Kasipul. There was some shooting, and some people actually fled to hide in BOYD's home. So BOYD is, of course, the son of the former MP Were. And it is quite shocking that Wanga is actually in a kind of panic mode, okay? So Wanga has been seen doing a lot in this place, just like Gachagua and Kindiki are also in panic mode for what is happening in Mbeere. And we've also seen another panic mode for Kalonzo Musyoka and his members right there in Magarini. Then we've seen another challenge happening in MALAVA. Of course, Natembeya trying to prove whether he's a kingpin of Western or not versus the opposition. So there are currently a lot of challenges happening, and if we look at the situation in Kasipul, it's quite a saddening situation. Remember how Were actually died. It was a very painful death, a very controversial one for that sake. So I don't know why maybe we cannot learn so much. I didn't expect that his son would actually opt for violence, and the other candidate, AROKO? Yeah. So I just want us to check on Wanga here campaigning in Homa Bay. So I've never seen elections whereby an MP is actually seriously being campaigned for by a president, or rather vice president, the sitting one, or maybe a governor. But the current by-elections have really pulled our country down, and I think it's proving some point from what Samia said and all that. I want us to look at one video right here. Hey, what's happening? Yeah, so of course we have seen a lot of leaders going to Kasipul, including Oburu, Wanga, and all they have insisted is that there should be peace, right? So let's check on this. Gladys Wanga was in Kasipul. What did she say to the people right there?
Wamefika katika kijiji cha Kachien kuchukua wanachokisema ni chao. kikosi kizima cha wanachungwa kikiongozwa na mwenyekiti Gladys Wanga wakikita kambi katika ngome ya mgombea kiti cha Kasipul kwa tikiti ya ODM BOYD Were. Wanachungwa hawa wakichukua muda mfupi kumkumbuka kwa saluti kinara wao mwenda zake Raila Amolo Odinga, kisha baadaye kuwarai wakazi kumchagua mwanachungwa kwenye uchaguzi mdogo. Chama hicho kikijitenga na ghasia zilizoshuhudiwa wiki mbili zilizopita na kuhimiza asasi za usalama kuimarisha doria, wakati huu ambapo joto la siasa limeteka anga eneo hili la Kasipul.
We are saying here today, never again. Never again will our young people lose their lives because of politics. Haitafanyika. Haitafanyika tena. Kwa hika.
So guys, of course, Gladys Wanga went to this place after some 2 people had already lost life. And allegedly those who shot ran to BOYD's home. So it happened that she spoke about it, but it already had happened. And I don't know how we can assert this just by talking about it, you know. When we emphasize that nothing again will happen, what should we do to avoid such moments to recur? Because I did a reaction last week, I think, and I did on Kasipul, just when BOYD had acted as he had done. Anyway, let's listen to Wanga, the chairperson of ODM, and see what she will say.
Kasipul ama region yetu yote. Na sisi kama wanachungwa, tumekubaliana ya kwamba kampeni zetu, kama vile unaona leo, tutafanya kwa amani, kila mtu arudi nyumbani kwa amani, na sisi hatuzungumzii mtu mwingine yoyote.
Yamini ni sharti wabwage wapinzani wao ili...
Alright, so I think the worst thing that happens with politics is that everyone actually has overconfidence. And this overconfidence makes you actually to go for anything, including fighting, beating others, being ready to kill, you know, shooting. So it becomes a physical war rather than a war of ideologies that should be left in the hands of voters. In fact, the latest aspect has become a situation whereby the leaders don't want to let the voters decide anymore. They'll either frustrate those whom they think will vote for the opposition or rather the other candidate, or they will also have to assert and even bribe and sometimes threaten the voters, right? So that's what is happening. And of course, I'm coming to MALAVA so that we get to understand the full picture of what I'm talking about here. Now, of course, in the process, Oburu Odinga also went to Kasipul and gave a speech. Now we have to get to understand what she said, what he said. Let's get to hear this. Now, Oburu Odinga came to this Kasipul, and when he came there, all he had to say was that there should be ODM and people should focus towards winning. He actually said that to remember Raila Odinga, they must fight tooth and nail to get their votes right here. Now, the funny thing is that given that the the former MP here was from ODM think that it's necessary that they must fight tooth and nail to ensure that the next elected member should be from ODM. And this is where we begin to mess, because maybe the previous leader would be from ODM, but do you think the citizens are still having the same mindset? 2 years down the line, you have had a difference of thought. But I can't tell. Maybe Kasipul is different, because this is one zone where they used to say, when Baba coughs, they cough. When Baba jumps, they jump. When Baba said you turn to left, they turn. But however, we have seen already a lot of controversy. You know, even Winnie Odinga herself does not agree with Oburu Odinga in everything. So do you think the situation remains the same, that when he says they support this, then they support? Now we see that BOYD is the son of Were. And by all means, Gladys Wanga is trying to ensure that he goes through campaigns and wins. And now it happens that after, you know, after the situation that happened in BOYD's home last week, with 2 people dying in the process of shooting, we have had IEBC acting. Now, what is the action that they took? I want us to look at what happened. There was a video here. I wanted to play it. Let me just get it here. I wish I could get the English version. This is Kiswahili.
Supporters don't stop the madness in the next 8 days. IEBC says they are out of the November 27th by-election. Gone, finished, wiped off the ballot like they never existed. This is not a drill. This is the sharpest warning the commission has issued in years. 2 people are already dead. 3 DCI officers were last week beaten, stripped and chased like stray dogs in broad daylight. Campaign rallies are turning into battlefields, and the IEBC has finally run out of patience.
This committee has rendered today ought to serve as a clear warning to all participants in Kasipul and elsewhere. The children must be safe wherever they are on those roads where the violence is being caused.
Let's take you straight to the chaos in Homa Bay, Kasipul constituency, a seat left empty after the brutal murder of MP Omondo Were in April. Son BOYD Were, ODM candidate and current frontrunner, has been campaigning like a man possessed.
Kijana ya baba ni fire si fire. Ni fire si fire.
But rivals say his supporters are the ones dishing out the violence. Counterclaims say independents and MDG's Collins Okeyo are the real architects of chaos. Either way, somebody is lying and bodies are piling up.
It was simple. They will just inform us, give us a notice. No, we will allow them to search. Because at the end of the day, they came, fired gunshots all over. There were women in the compound, the residents were there. It brought tension. At the end of the day, they didn't arrest anyone because the person they were looking for was not here.
The independent electoral...
Okay, so of course you remember the other week what happened is that the DCI were attacked and 2 people died. It was not a very clear story actually. And there is a possible disqualification of BOYD Were and the other guy. the independent candidate because they are proving to be very violent. None of them is so clear on what is happening. So since the initial dying of Were, then the by-election organization, ODM picked on Boyd, the son of Were, and they have been conducting, processes of campaigning. We have seen that Boyd Were has been campaigning with a lot of energy. However, during the process of being, brought in as a candidate of ODM, we saw clearly that even school children were voting. Some of them did not have IDs, but they were pulled from schools to go and vote. Now, what does this happen to say? It is an unscrupulous process that is happening in Kasipul. Now, IBC is forthcoming. Around 25th elections will be conducted in different zones. Ugunja itself also has a by-election. Now, what is going to happen? So it becomes a scaring aspect. But IBC has had to speak strictly, indicating that they are not going to stand any violence anymore. It's either the candidates stand, vie, or rather conduct their campaigns peacefully, or they quit. Now, we have seen the finding of 2 candidates in Kasipul, 1 million each. Now, can you imagine such a loss, whereby now the candidate both in ODM and independent have been forced to actually pay 1 million because of what happened? Now, let's see.
Candidates are in violations of paragraph 6A, B, C, E, I, K. That in the context of both oral and written submissions of the parties, the committee finds that both candidates are in violations of paragraph 6A, B, C, E, I, K, M, and N of the Electoral Code of Conduct. Having fully applied its mind to the foregoing provisions of the law, the analysis of the facts, and oral submissions by the respective parties and pursuant to the provisions of paragraph 7 of the Code.
Following the disciplinary review, the IEBC said AROKO, who is running as an independent, and Were of the ODM party, failed to respect the agreed campaign schedule, directly escalating tensions between supporters. AROKO.
So the IBC has actually had to review whatever findings they have conducted, and they are finding both candidates, independent and BOYD, actually violating the agreement that they have to follow the schedule and expected code of campaigns. Now, out of that, and from the violence that has already been seen, they have been fined 1 million each for chaos. And if they don't adhere to the expectation of campaigns, it is possible that they may be disqualified within the remaining 8 days before elections. Mary Madul, welcome. Thank you so much for coming in the house. I appreciate. Now, the IPC actually has to be stunned, because when you look at the different places where elections are being conducted, actually they have become battlegrounds. Individuals are literally going there and abusing each other, and also having some sort of chaos that is planned or staged. And if this is not taken care of by IBC, we may see very serious situations in future, not just in 2025, but maybe in 2027. So it's quite appropriate for IBC to put things in order for us to have a peaceful moment of campaigns. Because you can't understand why it should be a matter of death and life in elections. Elections should be a peaceful situation whereby the voters are allowed to pick their leaders. However, it has happened that Robert Atieli, welcome in the house. So it has happened that in the by-election that we are seeing, it is literally a matter of death and life. Life and death. People picking each other, people actually fighting each other, people trying to hurl abuses, people arguing and turning the by-elections into a ground to actually campaign for presidential positions, gubernatorial positions, senatorial positions, and more. It is so saddening, actually, and sickening to see this happening in a country. And now, let's turn to MALAVA. MALAVA has actually become another chaotic ground. Now, today, we saw PANYAKO revealing information about the hired goons from Nairobi. He indicated that we have buses that have already exited from Dandora and other headquarters to bring young people, or rather goons, into MALAVA so that they can be kept in places and ready to attack and cause chaos. Now, if this is real, what is going to happen? These goons some of them will opt to remain in the rural and become criminals forever in the village, because MALAVA is not a big town like Dandora. But then if they find room to actually survive, then it would have actually created more criminals. Now, criminals have a code also. They network. Now, if you create such a situation whereby you are hiring, or rather transporting criminals from a city to the rural like MALAVA, what is going to happen? So it's very sad that a simple by-election, that you would actually think that is something that would not be really causing a lot of sleepless nights to many leaders, has become a battleground. Now, of course, you've been seeing how Khalwade has taken ground in this place, Malala, we've seen Natembea, we've seen even Gachagua coming here. At the same time, we have seen Farouk coming there, we've seen Sudi, we've also witnessed the presence of Atwoli and the President Ruto. Now, it becomes very satirical in a nation whereby when people are ailing from so many problems, including educational, health, economic itself, the leaders are busy actually conducting campaigns, and yet they can call activists busybodies. So who is a busybody here? Such is matters that are very ironical and satirical in our country, and you can't actually understand when vocabularies are used just for the sake of it. Anyway, let's check on MALAVA now. Now, here is PANYAKO speaking. Dibziba, welcome. Hello. So let's check on PANYAKO speaking.
William Ruto, watu wamekukataa. Wacha watu wachague kiongozi wanaomtaka. Ukijaribu kuleta mambo ambayo Samia Suluhu alifanya kule Tanzania, tuko tayari kama wananchi kuingia State House na kung'oa mamlaka. Sapauda.
With blood on his calves.
So the goons that have been actually set in Nairobi to come to MALAVA are this, given weapons ready to attack and cause a lot of mayhem in MALAVA. All right? And that is the information that PANYAKO was hinting, because, politicians have links in different places and they know what's going to happen.
Kuna majambazi ambayo yanaletwa huku kwetu MALAVA, ambayo yameagizwa kuja huku, ambayo yameagizwa na Rais William Ruto na Farouk Kibet pamoja na Nabii Nabwera. Ningependa kusema kwamba hao majambazi wametolewa eneo la Dandora, eneo la Madare, eneo la Kibira na eneo la Kariobangi na maeneo mengine ambayo yanajulikana Nairobi kuwa inakaa na majambazi. Gari la kwanza limekwisha ondoka, limeelekea MALAVA. Basi ya kwanza limeondoka Nairobi tunapozungumza hivi sasa, na gari la pili bado halijajaa, likijaa litakuja MALAVA. Sababu ya wao kuja MALAVA ni kwamba wanataka kuzua vuruku, kupika sisi na kuingia katika kampeni zetu na kuleta vuruku, na Ijumaa pia wamepanga kuja kuvamia mkutano ambao utafanyika kule MALAVA, mkutano mkubwa. Baadaye watakuja kuwekwa katika sehemu mbalimbali kuzuka vuruku ili kura ya MALAVA isipigwe vile inavyotakikana.
But hold the
the front. Malala
Sabla, nilikuwa nafikiri wamekupatia pesa mingi, alafu nimeenda sports club, nimepata kumbe pesa yenye umepewa, umeandikiwa pombe kule sports club, jioni unakunywa pombe. Mwanaume masata bakukurira manoi bure muhali wenyako ba.
analysts like
So it has become a very serious battleground, actually, the by-election zones, including Kasipul, Malava on the highest end, followed by Mbere. Those are three zones that are actually have become zones. You can see that leaders are straining. Literally having a leader who has been a vice president, actually walking on foot and going door to door is not easy. But ask yourself, why this? It's because of selfish personal interest that each of these leaders has. Whether it's the president, vice president, Farouk himself, and all that, they have their personal interests that are pulling into these campaigns. And now it becomes very unfortunate when now goons are brought in or violence. Because at the end of the day, with violence, anything can happen. The blood of people can be spilled or something like that, which is unfortunate actually. So we have been seeing Natembea, we have been seeing the united opposition and all its team on one front, while the president with his team on the other end. Now it happened that Farouk has been so many times rejected in Malava. However, he has had to come there because he knows what he wants. And now it's unfortunate when we see the goons coming into position. We know what happened in Nairobi. We know what has happened the other day. It happened in Bungoma. And also even Kitale, we have seen sports club, people almost killing each other. So it becomes a very difficult situation for enlivening when people want to enliven each other just because of politics. But where did it begin coming wrong? It began going wrong when politics became the cash cow for many people. A lot of individuals actually walk from nothing to something through politics. Once you fight through an election process and you manage, then your life changes overnight. And this is one of the things that is actually making a lot of people be motivated to go into politics and fight tooth and nail and ensure that they invest a lot in the campaigns. And they don't just go as individuals, they go with a gang, a group that is surrounding them, whether it's already those who are in government or those who want to be. And with this, now things become messy. There's no mercy at all in what happens around campaigns, with people ready to hoot, shoot, loot, and do whatever they have to do, just as far as their candidate will be picked. Now, what has the by-election turned into? It turns into an unjustified, dirty game that we have always had. Politics is a dirty game. Now, to many current generation, if you ask them about what elections are, they will understand that as a platform for people to hurl abuses at each other. There's nothing you'll tell the young people about elections, or rather, even if you declare in your house that you are going to vie for a position, then they would ask you, mom or dad, are you ready for the violence? Are you ready for the abuses? Are you ready for the shaming? Are you ready for all that? Is what is happening. So what are we teaching even the young people? What are we trying to tell them about elections or by-elections? Does it also mean that we don't have to be ready for failure? Because all I can see in all the by-elections, people are declaring themselves winners. And they are actually saying that they are going to win as early as possible. So these strategies should be there indeed. But then it should be a society whereby we accept that we are going for competition, but we are not necessarily the winners. Yet, if you look into what is happening, it's like people have to win by force, by fire. User SR3QH, a very difficult name. Thank you so much for coming into our channel. I appreciate your presence. How are you? I hope you're fine. All right. So when sometimes I think about the by-elections in Kenya and what is going to happen on 25th, I just have to wink, because the tragic end of it, if these things continue to actually run as it is, they may not be a good picture or results coming out of the by-elections happening in Kenya. It's like people are waiting for someone to die so that they replace, or something to happen so that they go in full wing and do what they have to do, you know? Yeah, at least I liked what happened in Magarini a little bit, though there was still some hurling here and there. But it's a little bit better than when you look at Mbere, Kaspul, and Malava. And now, especially this part of goons. I don't know where the culture of goonism is coming from in Kenya. There's need for research to understand why goonism has become a way of life in Kenya, especially when it comes to matters elections and when it comes to matters demonstrations. And that is why Kenya, actually, we are being painted out there as serious demonstrators. And in all this, do we have Olo in place? No. Have Bob Njagi in place? No. None of them are interested in this. However, when you go to Uganda, they know Bob Njagi and Olo as the serious demonstration organizers. When you go to Uganda, they know Mother Karua and Boniface Mwangi as serious planners of maybe chaos. Now, if you see now away from the 4 people who have already been actually thrown away from Uganda or Tanzania, what now does it tell us? It possibly tells the world out there that all Kenyans are violent, which is not true. It is not. But now few people actually feel like they are supposed to use violence for them to survive, as you can see in Malava constituency and others. Now, according to some people, they are believing now, it has come out like if people are making highlights, they are saying Simukule. Mbona nakulia chini? All right. So I think there's a lot to talk about, but there's been a serious situation. There's a serious situation in Malava and Kaspul, and we need to condemn it because we don't have to stand violent politics. Violent politics are not suitable for us. And if they continue, we'll actually continue to be labeled from out there in other countries as violent Kenyans, and it doesn't give us a good picture, because if people begin to deny us to get into their country and always see us as violent, we cannot even run businesses in other places. We cannot go collect goods or, even study or work right there. And yet we need these opportunities, right? Yeah, so thank you so much. Let's continue with another video. Hii imeni interrupt ikafanya nikanini. Ilizima